7,242 kilometers or 4,500 miles. That's how much distance I've covered on my Cervelo Caledonia. Here's my feedback on the bike so far. The first thing that blew me away is the comfort, especially since I have put 35mm tires on there. Now the manufacturer Cervelo says you can fit up to 34mm tires on there, but obviously I disregarded that and I put 35mm on there, and so far so good. This bike is much more comfortable than the aero road frame I had. Outside of when I'm riding on cobblestones and things like that, the bike does not feel really sturdy at all on cobblestones. But if you don't have that in your area, it's not something you need to worry about. I have not done much gravel riding on the bike, nor do I plan to. But if you're thinking about spending most of your time on gravel, then I would personally suggest consider buying the Cervelo Aspero versus the Caledonia, because it's a gravel bike. My rating on the Cervelo Caledonia 5 in terms of comfort, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Let's talk about amenities on the Cervelo Caledonia 5. And what I mean by that is, what can you do with this bike after you buy it? Now, if you're thinking about doing maybe gravel 50% of the time and road the other 50, or whatever ratio you have it set up, this bike gives you a wide variety of options. As I mentioned before, you can put the bigger tires on there, up to 35 is what I've done. The bike comes with a fender mount in the back, so if you are riding in an area that gets pretty dirty during the wet season or what have you, that is always an option. So there's a lot of room to play with on this bike. I have thought about maybe even putting a one by on here. I don't know if any of you watching this have done that already, but if so, leave it in the comments. There's just a lot of things that you can do with this one bicycle. In terms of amenities, I'm gonna give the Cervelo Caledonia 5 a 10 out of 10. In terms of aerodynamics, I'm gonna be honest, this is not the fastest bike I have ridden. However, I knew that when I got the Cervelo Caledonia 5, this is something that I would be sacrificing. So if you're looking for a bike that is more aero, I would suggest maybe checking out the Cervelo Soloist or a completely different bike in general. And this is something that I'm still getting used to. I'm not saying that you can't get up to speed on the Cervelo Caledonia 5, but I just don't feel like the bike wants to go fast as I have on my previous bikes. So my rating on aerodynamics, I'm gonna give the Cervelo Caledonia 5 out of 10. Now, should you race on the Cervelo Caledonia 5? I have not raced on this bike yet, but I can tell you, having raced in the past, I don't think this was the bike that I would choose if I was going to be racing frequently. I think it's much more advantageous to have an aerodynamic bike, whether you're doing crit racing or road racing. The bike is a little bit bulkier than what I'm used to on my Bianchi and previous bikes. So if you are focused on pure racing, I would say again, check out the Cervelo Soloist or another aerodynamic road bike in general. If I was going to be racing hardcore, I would not go with the Cervelo Caledonia 5. Also, I feel like my line selection has had to change since I got this bike. I don't feel like I can take turns as sharp as I have been in the past. In terms of should you race on the Cervelo Caledonia 5, I'm going to rate the bike as a 6 out of 10. All right, that wraps up my 4,500 mile review. I'll make an updated video reviewing the Cervelo Caledonia 5 as I get more and more experience on it. But happy training. Talk to you guys in the next video.